Good evening and welcome to the fourth round of the Porsche 935 USA Cup. We are at Laguna, Seca today. We have joined midway through qualifying, so we're going to get to the action shortly. We are at Laguna Seca, which is the fourth round. We're using the Porsche 935. As you can see, a bit of a beast. From the late 70s, and we're taking part at Laguna Seca, a track famous for IndyCar, and it's going to be very tough in these cars with a locked diff at the back. If we look at the current standards, Robin Taylor is still leading the championship, and we hopefully should be able to I wouldn't say clinch the championship today. It is only the fourth round, so we'll see whether we can hang on from his teammate Nick Westy right there in second. So let's get to the track and see where everybody is at. We're currently in qualifying, midway through qualifying, and we see that is Lars Hagman at the top of the timesheets. With only 3 minutes left in qualifying. Go up the hill towards the corkscrew. As he makes a slight mistake. He's in a very precarious place. He does very well to get it going again. It's very clever. So we have 10 drivers on track at the moment. Lars Hagman is in pole position. Actually, Bjorn Hagman has just taken pole position. That's, I believe, probably his brother. So Bjorn Hagman, welcome back to the series. And nice Jägermeister liveried car. What is under the bridge up to the uphill section. Laguna Seca. Very tough part of the track. The gravel can lead you off up towards the corkscrew. He's purple in sector 1. So he's extending his advantage. Down the corkscrew, no worries there. Down the hill. Up to what is going to be tough downhill right-hander, and up to the final turn. He's purple in sector 2 also, so he's going to improve his pole time. Oh, and we have a slight spin on the exit there. A precarious position to be in. Oh, and he comes out right in front of the blue car. I can't think of who that was actually. 54. I think that's Rob Milliken actually. So we come down to 45 seconds left. So Barrett Ericsson is going to get one more lap in. He's in 5th in the moment. Was the line to start another lap. That was 128, so that wasn't really a push lap. So at the moment, the top 5 looks at, we've got Lars Hagman, Bjorn Hagman 1st and 2nd. We've got Thomas Johansson in 3rd, Philip Pitchler in 4th, Barrett Ericsson in 5th. Nuno Rodriguez, who is a newcomer to this series. Around to the uphill section of the course. Up to the fast left-hander. The checker flag is out. And Barrett makes a slight mistake coming up the hill. Pitchler is down in the first sector. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to improve He's currently fourth. 0.5 of a second behind third. He's currently 0.7 off of his fastest time, or the fastest time rather. He's trying to beat a 1:23.1. Up to the court screen. Slight mistake, that's probably a track limits. I don't think he's going to be able to keep this lap. But it's all good. Using all of the curb in the final turn. And across the line. 26.1, no improvement, and no improvement in the position either. Philip Pitcher was the last driver out on track. So it looks like we have our grid set. That is our starting order. Let's look at the starting order for this race. It's going to be 60 minutes. 60 minutes of racing. We have Lars Hagman in pole, Bjorn Hagman in second, Thomas Johansson in third, Philip Pitcher in fourth. With fifth place being Barrett Eriksson, newcomer to the series, Nuno Rodriguez in sixth, Rob Milliken in seventh, Nick Westy strangely down in eighth. He's normally up in the top five. Ed Jones in ninth, and Ken Janger bringing up the rear in 10th place. We have a slight warm-up session, and then we'll be heading to the grid for 60 minutes of racing. Now, as I said, Laguna Seca, quite a famous track for IndyCar and the like. And sports car racing also. And this is the fourth round of the championship, with 2 rounds to go. So if we check the schedule, we've been around 1, 2 and 3. We've had Road America. Can't remember what the second round was. We were at Barber Motorsports Park 2 weeks ago. We've got a little bit of a break after this race, about a month or so, for the 5th round, which is at Road Atlanta. And then the last round on the 30th of March, which is Sebring International Raceway. So we wonder how these cars are going to deal with the bumps. That should be very, very interesting. So 60 minutes. There are no mandatory pit stops. We did start in the first round where people were having a go at some kind of pit strategy. I don't believe tyre wear is really going to be a thing. Just hoping I can get my track map up there. There we go. Not quite got it visible, but we'll just have to deal with that. So as the cars are winding their way round for their warm-up laps, great views around Laguna Seca. It's one of the courses which is popular, and a lot of double apex turns around this course. Not really any straights per se. I would say that it's going to be very difficult to pass. So we may see some bumping and banging around some of the first few turns. Let's hope that the drivers keep it clean. But, last couple of minutes of warm-up. We're looking at Rob Milliken at the moment. He takes a bit of an excursion over the grass. So let's run through some of the drivers we have today. So Lars Hagman, I believe this is maybe his first or second round in this championship. Number 85, a nice orange car. And we have what could be his brother in second there, Bjorn Hagman. Thomas Johansson in third. He's actually the creator of this Porsche 935 mod, so thanks to Thomas for taking part with Sim Racing Online and racing with us tonight. We then have Philip Pitstop, number 4, the white, green and red Porsche. Barrett Ericsson there with the blue, light blue and white Porsche. And then we have Nuno Rodriguez. Unfortunately, he's really going to confuse me because he's taken the same car as Rob Milliken. So that's a bit unfortunate. We'll have to get him to change car for the next round, hopefully. So Rob Milliken in the pits at the moment. You'll see that he's in the same kind of car as Nuno Rodriguez. Then Nick Westy, number 0 in the pits there. Black car with red stripes. Ed Jones normally qualifies near the back, but is a very steadfast competitor. Normally comes through the field. He's a tyre saving genius. And then we have Ken Jagger. Looks like Ken Jagger might be doing a couple of practice starts, looking at where his clutch bite point might be. And when he goes up the pit lane. So it looks like we are all set for 60 minutes of racing around Laguna Seca. I now have my track map so I can see where people are. That's a good start. I like it. So winding down the last few seconds of warm-up, and we will get to the grid. There is no warm-up lap. There is no... I believe there is no formation lap. It is a standing start. So it's 10 drivers on the line at Laguna Seca with the run down to the first double apex left-hander. This is going to be very difficult, I'll imagine. Let's make sure we got our track map in the right orientation so we can not get confused.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
There we go. So, what's going to happen? Is everyone going to get through the first lap unscathed? So we see Lars Hagman lining up on pole position. You see the rest of the grid just filling up. Tough cars, lock diff, very powerful. Let's see if we can remain without any problems at the start. Red lights are on. We're set to go. Good start from the pole man. He's able to get away in the lead with Bjorn Hagman behind. Someone did take to the dirt. But it looks like clean into turn 1. Nick Westy has popped up from quite low down the order and is now battling for what looks like 3rd place. Now, points up for grabs for the championship because it doesn't look like our championship leader has turned up. So Robin Taylor is not in the race tonight, so all points are going to be an absolute bonus. So very tight for 2nd and 3rd and 4th, up towards the corkscrew for the first time. Down towards the corkscrew. Slight lock up from Thomas Johansson puts him compromised on the exit, the corkscrew. Nick Westy takes a huge lunge up the inside on that left-hander, trying not to run wide. And there is a bit of a split for the top 2. They're running away with it at the moment. So we do see Nunes taking a little bit of an oversteer moment out of the final corner, but he still maintains his position in what is 6th place. Down to turn 1 for the 2nd time. Now again, do the drivers plan on making any pit stops at all? They are going rather hard at the outset of this race, putting in lap times of the 1:31 range. Again, now Nick Westy is looking for second place. This time Bjorn Hagman is the target. Towards the uphill left-hander. Towards the corkscrew. He's got past Bjorn Hagman. Setting his sights on the lead of this race. Down towards the final corner. And out for another lap. Slight bit of oversteer on the exit there. So we've got first, second, third and fourth within proximity of each other. A slight gap for fifth, as Hagman puts in a fastest lap time of 1:25.1. Fifth place now out on their own, as Rodriguez is just getting used to this car, I'd imagine. His first race in the series. And then we drop back to what is sixth for Ed Jones. With Rob Milliken following just behind in seventh place. It looks like Pitchler may have had an accident because he's knocked down the field. And he's now settling in behind Barrett Eriksson. Barrett Eriksson in 8th place. Didn't have a good run at Barber Motorsports Park in the last round. Philip Pitchler started 4th, I believe. It's now down to 9th with Ken Jagger. Again, that's going to confuse me a little, both in the number 4. If we go back up to the leading 2, Nick Westy just put the fastest lap of the race with a 1:23.8, so he's got the pace to pass the leader, Lars Hagman. So Lars goes defensive up to turn 1. Basically saying, if you're going to pass me, you're going to go around the outside. Up towards turn 4. Hold your breath and stab the throttle. Come down towards turn 5 and head into the uphill section. It's like Lars is a little gap. I don't think there's any room to pass up in this turn up here, and turn, I believe that's turn 6 up towards the corkscrew. It's pulled out a 0.6 per second gap. Slight lock-up of tyres, which compromises Lars's exit. And towards turn 9. Right hand of turn 10. A lot of drivers running their car very loose tonight. A lot of oversteer going on. Very tight into the final turn. Is that going to compromise his exit coming up to the turn 1? Possibly. Does look like he's got it covered up to turn 1. He has pulled out a little bit of a gap, and they're both in the 1:24s now. So now that the tyres are a little bit warmed up, Lars Hagman is now settled in a bit, but Nick Westy is not letting him get away. Right now Lars Hagman is not in the running for the championship. So these are basically 3 points taking away from the championship contenders. Out of turn 5 up to turn 6. Pulling out a little bit of a gap up towards the corkscrew. Let's see whether we can get it slowed down. We can. Yeah, makes the apex this time, dropping down through the corkscrew. down the hill up towards the final turn. Pulled out a little bit of a gap. Can they keep up this pace for the entire, what is 52 minutes to go in this race? So it's a faster lap time for Lars Hagman's finally. Tyres are finally warmed up. It's a 123.5 down towards turn 1. Step back to 5th, 6th and 7th, all in the same camera shot there. So Rodriguez, Milliken and Jones following behind. Gap stretch out a little. Coming down to turn 1. If we head back to the top 2, putting a slight gap on Hagman by about 2.2 seconds. Towards the left-hander and towards the corkscrew. Hagman runs a slight bit wide. Can he get it stopped for the corkscrew? A lot of curb, that's a bit of a dive. That's a bit of a dive. I don't think that was ever on. You have to be alongside up the corkscrew to get past, but so we'll see who the big winners and losers were at the start of the race. So Nick Westy up 6 places to 2nd place. He must have had a nightmare qualifying. So we follow up to turn 1. So looks like Lars Hagman is covering the inside line. No opportunity to get past. Now these cars do have boost enabled, so it's a matter of fuel consumption and whether or not drivers want to turn up the boost or turn down the boost. So we had a few mentions of fuel consumption from the last round. So these 2 drivers are going hard at it, but are their tyres going to last for the entirety of this race? But this is bringing Bjorn Hagman back into play. He's now only 1.6 behind. So whilst these 2 battle for the lead, Bjorn Hagman is waiting there, with licking his chops, waiting for an opportunity. Whether that will open up or not, we don't know. Down into the final turn for another time. Lars Hagman does get the braking, a little bit wrong. It's a bit squirrely. Coming up, start another lap. Over the stripe, up the hill, down towards turn 1. Hagman keeping it tight, covering the inside line. Again saying, Westy, if you're going to pass, you're going to pass around the outside in turn 1. I wonder whether this is tactics again, keeping what looks like a faster car of Nick Westy behind, and maybe bringing Bjorn Hagman into this race. It's a very dangerous tactic if so. So I believe we may have lost someone, because Nuno Rodriguez is now in 4th place. Maybe a change in position. It looks like Johansson has dropped down to 8th place, unfortunately. So now it does look like Bjorn Hagman has joined the party. As Lars Hagman does get it all wrong, and Westy goes up the inside and takes the lead. Pushed Lars Hagman into a mistake. So now Westy leads Bjorn Hagman in 2nd and Lars Hagman in 3rd. I wonder whether that was the pressure that made Lars make a mistake, or saw a car in his mirrors and scared him off the road. So the closest battle on track is Rob Milliken and Barrett Eriksson, battling over 6th and 7th. Barrett Eriksson hopefully improving on his round. It was a bit of a nightmare at Barber Motorsports Park. But keeping it stable, keeping it fine into turn 1. Double apex is always very, very difficult to handle. Rob Milliken normally broadcasting these races, but he's now behind the wheel. Currently in a very steady 6th place. Ed Jones. Again, 5th place. Coming up from the back of the field. I believe he started in about 8th or 9th place. So slow but steady. I also mentioned that the team championship is up for grabs. As we see a new fastest lap time of Nick Westy stretching out his lead at 1:23.1. The team championship is up for grabs. I believe there are 3 teams in the running for this championship. Black Cat Motorsports, who Westy drives for, along with Robin Taylor, the championship leader. They are currently leading the championship with 102 points from Bad Voices Racing, of which there are 3 drivers in this race. Ed Jones is one of them, along with Barrett Erickson and Ken Jagger. They are second in the team championship. And we do have in 3rd, which is Gear, or G-E-A-R rather. Unfortunately, there's no one flying the flag for GEAR in this race tonight. So more team points up for grabs. So with 46 minutes to go, it is Westy in first. Jon Hagman following close behind by 1.5 seconds. And Lars Hagman in third, unfortunately. That mistake proving costly. It looked like we've had our first DNF. It looks like Ken Jagger has DNF'd out of 10th place. Maybe a technical problem has succumbed to again. So Nuno Rodriguez, first race of his championship effort, in 4th place. 5th place is Ed Jones, now putting out a little bit of a gap on Rob Milliken, who I believe has overtaken Barrett Erickson. Pulled out a little bit of a gap back to Barrett Erickson in 7th. And again, that mistake was a little bit costly for Johansson, who's now dropped back to 8th place. And 6 seconds adrift is Philip Bitchler. Looking tyres into turn 1. I'm sure they're going to feel like 50 pence pieces. Flat spots on those tyres. Can't imagine they feel very nice after that. He was once running up in 4th place, but is now down to 9th. On the fastest lap for Westy, as I said before. So the top 3 are in the 123s. Now, as I say that, Westy puts in a 122.8. So he might be stretching out his lead of 1.5 seconds. So I believe it was, from what I remember now, it was Portland the second round. So Road America was the first round, Portland was the second round, and Barber Motorsports Park was the third. All very different tracks in terms of layout and elevations. I feel like Laguna Seca is very unique in the way that it feels like a roller coaster ride. So up the hill towards the very famous corkscrew. So the entire field is covered by 1 minute. So take a deep breath and hold the throttle down. For the left-hander. Turn 9 up towards turn 10. It's very handy. You've got those red markers on the curbs there. That's where the apexes are that you need to be hitting, because there is a couple of turns which are, at least 1 or 2, which are double apex. And, it's a slight misshift, it sounded like. Bjorn Hagman up to turn 1. He's now pulling a gap on Lars Hagman, the pole sitter and race leader for the first part of this race, but he's now pushing back in third. Maybe he did overheat his tyres a little. The top 3 have moved away from the rest of the field. Rodriguez is now 30 seconds adrift, with 42 minutes to go. If there are pit stops, we can expect them maybe at half distance, but I don't think we're actually expecting any pit stops. So the closest other battle on track we've got at the moment is Barrett Ericsson taking a wide entry to turn 1, up towards turn 2. Thomas Johansson is shadowing behind. Unfortunately, that mistake early on has been very, very costly for a good finish. So, championship as it sits right now, as I said, it is Robin Taylor that does lead the championship with 106 points. And now Robin Taylor isn't here today, so Nick Westy is going to score big. It is 40 points for a win, so if the positions stay as they are, Nick Westy is going to take the championship lead. Barrett Ericsson is in third in the championship with some very consistent results with 88 points. Ed Jones in fourth with Tony Talviti rounding out the top 5 with 76 points. Again, Talviti is not actually in this race today. Work schedule unfortunately getting in the way. Just seeing that Bjorn Hagman isn't really making any inroads into Westy, but they are putting in very similar lap times now, down into the 1:22.6 range. He did actually put the fastest lap of the race in last lap. Second across the line with 40 minutes to go. The field is stretching out a little. I mean, it is a bit of a pity that there aren't any mandatory pit stops. That might close the field up a little. But as it stands, we have Nick Westy in first, Bjorn Hagman in second, Lars Hagman third, Rodriguez in fourth, Jones in fifth, Milliken in sixth, Ericsson in seventh, Johansson in eighth, and Pitchler in ninth. Johansson is making inroads into Ericsson ahead. You can see him closing the gap. They are very similar in lap times. Barrett Ericsson looks like he did drop a couple of seconds that last lap, so maybe a mistake. So coming up the hill towards turn 1. It's not even full throttle, it sounds like, from the onboard. So we've seen a couple of places that you can pass around Laguna Seca. Barrett Ericsson does make a mistake, but Johansson does follow. As Barrett Ericsson does take out one of the braking markers coming up the hill. So capitalising on a mistake, and Johansson is now up a place to 7th. His next target is Milliken for 6th. 5 seconds adrift towards Milliken, who's heading up the hill towards the corkscrew. So again, was that pressure that made Barrett Ericsson run wide? I thought that Johansson was going to follow. Seems a very good case for, as we see, running a bit wide coming into turn 10, I believe. target fixation is a thing. If you fixate too much on the car in front, you're bound to follow them. See Lance Hagman coming up the hill for what is 37 minutes to go in the race. The race is going pretty quickly. Before you know it, we'll be at the end of it. And it does look like the leader is coming across the lap cars for the first time. So the first victim will be Philip Pitchler in 9th. So scintillating pace. It's now down to 122.5 that last lap. So again, is any boost being used? You see Bjorn Hagman negotiating turn 1, the double apex left-hander. Is boost going to come into it? I believe we saw a few people having some fuel problems at Barber Motorsports Park. In the end, I believe it was Tony Talviti having to slow down on the last lap in order to finish. Made sure that he got lapped so that he could finish the race. Come out towards the corkscrew. Again, 36 minutes to go. Very solid drive from Rodriguez so far in their first round. Or their first time competing in this championship. It's always very difficult to start midway through a season, but making the most of it with a solid 4th place, capitalising on other people's mistakes. So a lot of the corners at Laguna Seca are very commitment based. There's a lot of corners, particularly this one up here, up towards the corkscrew, where you have to guess where the apex is. If you get it wrong and hit that curb, you're probably heading towards the senior on the right hand side. As he gets the line all wrong coming up to the corkscrew. I imagine in real life that probably makes your stomach shift. But it does look like Ed Jones behind is catching. Now within 2 seconds of the car in front. So you can see his target. It's always good when I always think it's good when you have the metaphorical carrot to chase. It gives you a target to fixate on. Now if we look back at 5th, or in fact 6th and 7th, it does look like Johansson is catching Milliken. Now within 1.6 seconds, you can see he's now in range. So it's the same thing for Thomas Johansson. You can now see a car that he's chasing. So again, fastest lap of the race. The times are still tumbling, bit by bit, but not dramatically. 122.4. Fastest lap of the race for Westy. Putting out now a 5.4 second lead. We'll have to see whether this is pushing far too much too soon or whether this is calculated. But they did win the last round at Barber Motorsports Park. As though Tony Talviti able to join this round because of work commitments, but he finished 2nd and Robin Taylor was 3rd. But this is showing that Westy has a lot of pace in that car. Now pulled out a 7-second lead from Bjorn Hagman. Unfortunately, Bjorn Hagman has had a couple of good finishes marred by very late race incidents where he spun the car. Westy now putting in a 121.6. So is he fueled up to the end and just running full boost? And then extra fuel. the weight isn't an issue. So we're back to Milliken with Thomas Johansson still following behind. That gap is still steady around the 1.6 to 1.8 second mark. So we're nearly coming up at the race half distance. Slight drop of a wheel into the dirt through the corkscrew. Fourth and fifth is pretty close. Ed Jones chasing Rodriguez as they come up to start another lap. Slight lift over the crest of turn 1. And I imagine that the car does get very, very light, and it'll probably just end up going forwards rather than sideways. Around the corner. Up towards turn 3. Under the Cooper Bridge. Missing the apex slightly for 4. And turn 5, head up the hill. Under the GoPro Bridge. Spot your braking point and try to figure out where that apex is. It is blind. And up towards the corkscrew. You don't really want to get the braking that wrong. Take as much curb as you can on the right hand side. Meet the apex for the left hander and down the hill for the right. Try to keep in as much as possible and then floor the throttle. Down towards turn 10 and for the last turn 11. It does look like he is gaining. He is gaining on Rob Milliken ahead, or Rodriguez ahead rather. Slowly but surely, 1.7 seconds. Come back to the lead. Westy is putting in another fastest lap time of 121.6. Last time around 121.9. Ron Hagman behind. It's dropped down to 8 seconds behind as he comes up to lap the car of Barrett Ericsson, I believe. Lars Hagman has dropped back even further. It's come up to lap Philip Pitchler. So after that scintillating pace at the start of the race, still putting in 123s. So he's not slow by any means, but still dropping away behind the top 2. As we just about go past half distance. Philip Pitchler throwing the dust in the air, but lets Lars Hagman by. We do have an extended gap. And Nuno Rodriguez in. Oh, we can't go on board just as he gets to the tank slapper. Unfortunately, that lets Ed Jones by into 4th. Ed Jones, as I said at the build up to this race, it was a case of that he starts quite far back, but he plots his way through the field through consistency more than anything. So Rodriguez just got on the loud pedal a bit too early there. Got a bit of a tank slapper, and that meant that Ed Jones was able to pass. Milliken is shadowing in 6th there in the same numbered car as Rodriguez, number 54. Johansson has now dropped a bit further down the field. He's now 8 seconds behind Milliken. Unfortunately, it looks like he maybe had an off in that last lap. It was a 129.9. So it looks like there may have been a mistake. And that looks like the leader. So the leader pushing far too much. Is the car damaged? Looks like he's having a really hard job at slowing it down. So he's giving away the lead to Bjorn Hagman now. He did a 123 that last time, so he wasn't really pushing, so it must have just been a slight mistake. But I don't know if he actually came into contact with the barrier. He is actually pitting. So is the car actually damaged? Is tyre wear becoming an issue? So it is going up 4 tyres. Or is this planned because of fuel strategy? We now have a new leader. Bjorn Hagman is in first. A further 15 seconds behind is Lars Hagman. So was that an unforced error from Nick Westy? He's now dropped down to 3rd place. He still is in the pit, so I wonder whether there is a damage. Ed Jones is coming to finish the lap, so he may pass Westy for 3rd place. With Milliken not far behind. Westy still hasn't moved. And it does look like Rodriguez is DNF'd as well. Is that an accident for Rodriguez? He was running quite far up the field. Unfortunately, that's our 2nd DNF of the race. Yep. Can confirm that Nuno Rodriguez has DNF'd. That's unfortunate because he was doing quite well. I believe that Nick Westy has come out of the pits now. He's now dropped down to 7th place. With some work to do. He is about to be lapped by 2nd place. That is 2nd place in the background. So he was in the pits for a long time. Was that an unforced error from Nick Westy, who lets the 2nd place go? Or could it be a technical problem? Which is unfortunate if so. So we now have a new leader. Bjorn Hagman has a lead of 15 seconds from Lars Hagman in 2nd. 25 minutes to go. In fact, Nick Westy has DNF'd from 8th place. Looks like there may have been a technical problem, or in fact the car maybe didn't get fixed enough to make it drivable. It's unfortunate. But looking at the point standings, that still means that 8th place is still 22 points. Some quick maths in my head. It still puts Nick Westy at the lead of the championship. So we drop down to 3rd. We cut to 3rd just as Ed Jones is taking a little bit of an excursion off onto the grass. Up towards the corkscrew. It's getting slightly darker on track at the moment. 41 degrees track temperature. It's quite cold at 16.8, so I wonder if they're struggling for tyre temperature. Well, Milliken is not far behind. He's only 3 seconds behind Ed Jones, so a podium is possible for Milliken. Some good points to pick up here. Particularly because the championship leader isn't present tonight. A further 10 seconds down the road is Thomas Johansson, the only other car that's actually the first car to be lapped, down in 5th place. And we have another 10 or so seconds down the road is Baron Eriksson in 6th. See 2nd place of Lars Hagman in the background there. 7th place after his would apparently be a slight mishap at the start. Philip Pitstop has now got himself back up to 7th from attrition. So let's hope that no one else has any technical problems. Slight lock up into turn 1. It always feels very cumbersome when you lock up and you can't do anything but roll off the brake and wait for it to gain traction again. So 22 minutes to go. Bjorn Hagman leads from Lars Hagman in second by 16 seconds. So Bjorn Hagman can settle in, preserve some tyres, maybe drop his pace a little. Don't push too much. Don't want any thrills or spills in this last, what is the last quarter of this race. Lance Hagman now back up to second. An early leader, poleman, and an early leader, but now back in second place. Ed Jones again started near the back and has made his way up to third place, capitalising on other people's mistakes, but Rob Milliken is shadowing there in the background, so this podium fight is not over with. 2.5 seconds. Milliken can see his target ahead. Checking last lap times, they are very similar pace on 124 range. So very similar, so it's going to be a question of who makes the least mistakes, I'd imagine. Coming down the corkscrew for another time. Hugging that apex. Down towards 10, 11. Taking a little bit of curb on the outside. Slight lock of tyres and coming out of 11. And towards another lap. So it looks like our leader is probably going to be lapping up to 4th place. We will see. Crossing the line for another lap. Bjorn Hagman leads. 20 minutes to go. So after a fiery start, Westy getting out into the lead, pulling out a gap. It did look like it may have been a mistake or a technical problem from Westy which damaged their car. Bjorn Hagman grabs a bit too much curb and gets a bit of an oversteer moment. It may have been a technical problem that put them out, but they did pit for a significant amount of time. And then came out of the pits in front of the second place and in fact could not continue. Lars Hagman about to lap Barrett Eriksson in 6th. Quite a bit of rubber has gone down at this point. Car still oversteering quite a lot. As I say, tyre temperature may be a problem. The air temperature, again, 16 degrees, but the track temper, 41 degrees. So maybe the problem is tyre overheating. Who knows? But these cars definitely require some quick reactions. Down towards the final corner and up along the stripe for another lap. So it does look like Ed Jones and Rob Milliken are the closest cars on track. 3 seconds, you can see just in the camera shot there, Rob Milliken behind. The pace has dropped now down to the 125s. You can see just shadowing the background, Rob Milliken is still gunning for that podium place. I think this will be Rob Milliken's best finish. So just keep it pointing in the right direction. No thrills, no spills. Now down to 1.8 seconds. He's pushing. wide for the final corner. Up across the stripe for another lap, 18 minutes to go. The only driver for Flying Crowbar Racing. Rob Milliken is their only representative in this series. So he's got his work cut out for the team championship. As we see Bjorn Hagman, the leader, in the background. Hopefully Bjorn Hagman catches these two cars at an opportune point. It did look like Jones took it slightly wide coming up the hill. Compromised his exit. The gap is 1.4 seconds. Down the hill towards the turn. I think this is the closest that Rob has been. He's now within a second, around about a second. So these races always produce fireworks near the end. And maybe some drivers have been pushing too hard on their tyres. And some people have been conserving what they have. Looks like Rob Milliken is pushing towards this podium, showing himself in Ed Jones's mirrors. Is that going to phase Ed Jones at all? Running slightly wide of the apex of 2. Down towards the turn 3. Slightly wide again. This is Rob's opportunity. Does he feel like diving up the inside for turn 4? I don't think he does. Maybe leaving it for one of the straights. Short shifting up the hill. It looks like Ed Jones just locked the brake. Does Rob Milliken have the ability to get alongside? He does, and he's... Oh, and I spoke too soon. Gets a slight wheel on the grass, and around Rob Milliken goes. He had that third place. For the minutest of time. But a slight mistake on the exit from that part of the course, and around he went. It doesn't take an awful lot. This actually brings Thomas Johansson back into play, as he can see Rob Milliken, hopefully not a wounded Rob Milliken. It was a very minor spin, but that can't have done his tyres any good, so Johansson now on the prowl. He can now see Rob Milliken ahead. He can now see his target. So this is changing all of the time. I actually thought I'd be able to get put some provisional points down on the board. So it would be Bjorn Hagman scoring 40 points tonight, with Lars Hagman 36. And Ed Jones with a stunning drive to get some podium points there. So 3.4 seconds. Is that too much to ask to catch Rob Milliken in these dying minutes? As Rob Milliken overheated his tyres. Taking it quite cautious down into the corkscrew. You consolidate fourth. You push on. Looking at the lap times of Rob Milliken, running in 1:23s. Thomas Johansson's best lap is a 1:24. So this may be a bit beyond Thomas Johansson. Too sure. The race is not over yet. It's bound to be more fireworks coming up. A further 20 seconds down the road is Barrett Eriksson in 6th place. Now the two leaders have lapped up to 3rd place. So the two leaders, first and second, the Hagman brothers are, I believe they're brothers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they are first and second, and they have lapped the entire field. 7th place. 5 seconds down the road. It's not too far away from Barrett Ericsson. Locking tyres into turn 1. Still making the apex of 2. Philip Pitstop in 7th place. I imagine that Rob will be kicking himself. That podium was within his grasp, but it wasn't to be. 12 minutes to go, and Bjorn Hagman leads from Lars Hagman in second at 34 seconds gap. So Bjorn Hagman can ease off a little, save the tyres, save the engine, save the fuel, and come home in first. It will be a good win for Bjorn Hagman. He's always been there or thereabouts. This goes to show that to finish first you have to finish, as Murray Walker would say. So down towards turn 5 and up the hill for 6. Blind apex 6, up the wheel towards the corkscrew 7 and 8. As I said, Laguna Seca company still in use for Indy cars and sports car racing. I don't know how sports cars go around this course, but they do. I've actually tried what would be the historic layout for Laguna Seca in the 1960s, and it's an eye-opener, to be sure. So across the line for another lap with 11 minutes to go. 34-second lead from Lars Hagman in second. He's just come through the corkscrew now. Down the hill towards turn 10. Well, the corners do drop away from you at the apex. So you basically go all the way up towards the corkscrew and come all the way back down again. Jones now out on his own by about 8 seconds from the car behind. Good solid third position. So if we see positions gained and lost, Bjorn Hagman started in second. He's now leading the race. Lars Hagman lost pole position and now dropped down to second. Ed Jones, the highest climber, up 6 places to third place. Rob Milliken has gained 3. And the rest, Johansson has dropped 2 places. Ericsson dropped just 1 place. And Pitstop, unfortunately, dropping 3. So we start another lap going light over the crest. Down into turn 1. It does look like he's got it under control. Still lap times are not really too slowing down. 1:23.0. So still setting the pace. As I say, he can drop his lap time down a bit. Second place, he's just coming across the line now, so there's this huge gap for first place. Now down to the 124 range, so I wonder where the tyre wear is really coming into play for these guys. They did set a scintillating pace at the start of the race, but dropped off about a couple of seconds. Ed Jones in third, in the 125 to 124 range in lap time. As the helicopter goes across in the background. And behind Ed Jones, Rob Milliken, 6.5 seconds adrift. It Does look like Thomas Johansson has dropped off the back of these guys. It now dropped off 26 seconds or so. Did look like them. Last lap time was a 1:47, so that looks like a bit short for a pit stop. I don't think there's been any pit stops. I don't think we're going to see any pit stops unless fuel becomes an issue, but the field has spread out a bit. Does anyone feel like they can run full boost perhaps and have a pit stop in hand? Alright, Ericsson a further 9.5 seconds back in 6th. Slightly off the pace. You can see Philip Pitstop is not shadowing in the background there. He's only 3.5 seconds away from Barrett Ericsson, so it's 6th. Maybe 6th is up for grabs. So it looks like Pitstop is able to keep it flat over the crest, I believe. So up to 3rd gear, down to 2nd. Hit the apex of 3 under the Cooper Bridge. Stays in 3rd gear, slight curb on the left. Running a bit wide on the left on the exit. Up to 4th gear, down what is 2 gears. Early on the throttle, slight bit of wheel spin it sounded like. Up to 4th momentarily, and whoa, now it's looked slightly uncomfortable. Up the hill towards turn 18, which is the corkscrew. Down to 1st gear. Short shift to 2. 3rd gear. Looks like there's a lot of understeer coming into turns 8. Keep it in 3rd gear, down for 10. Down 1 gear, down 2 gears into the last turn of 11. And across the line for another lap. So in these latter stages of this race, these cars are still producing a bit of oversteer. It does seem like Philip Pitstop is locking up into that turn 1 quite a lot. The tyres are probably feeding all kinds of vibrations. Last lap time 1:25. Barrett Ericsson 1:26.2, so Pitstop is catching slowly but surely. The other battle on track at the moment is Rob Milliken in 4th, 5 seconds adrift of Ed Jones. Looking at lap time, Ed Jones has dropped down to 1:25.1. Rob Milliken is pushing on with a 1:24.1, but he does have just under 5 minutes to go. This might be a tall ask. He may be able to catch, but I don't think he'll be able to pass in that time unless Ed Jones makes a mistake. So as we said before, it will be 40 points for Bjorn Hagman in 1st. Lars Hagman will be scoring, or opening his season with 36 points for 2nd. Ed Jones would get 33 points for 3rd. This will be Milliken's highest finish so far, in the 4th place with 30 points. Johansson will be scoring, if I look up on my table, if he stays where he is, that'll be 28 points for 5th. Ericsson at current point is in 6th place, which will be 26 points. And Pitstop in 7th will be 24. Still good finish in 7th place for Pitstop. His only other finish was in 9th place. It was in the 2nd round. So Pitstop, so Westy will score 22 points. Rodriguez will open his total with 20 points. And Jagger, unfortunately, our first DNF in 10th place. And he will get 18 points. So we're going to have to add a new row to the championship table. 2.5 minutes to go. Still Bjorn Hagman leads from Lars Hagman in the second. Gap has come down a little to 32 seconds. But that's still a very dominant victory if we can just keep it pointing in the right direction. Ed Jones still in third, 61 seconds behind. It does look like Ed Jones has increased his pace a little. And Rob Milliken is pushing on in fourth. Unfortunately, Nino Rodriguez, first time out, will be getting at 9th out of this race. Rob Milliken gets it all wrong in the final corner. He was pushing on. But with only 55 seconds to go, it looks like this might be the final lap for our leader, Bjorn Hagman. Dominant victory in the end. Started off with Bjorn Hagman starting, I believe it was second on the grid from Lars Hagman. He dropped down to third early on, but has plugged away. With a very dominant victory. Coming up to the corkscrew for what should be the final time with only 20 seconds to go. So keep it all together, Bjorn. Keep the engine together. Keep the tyres on it. Dropping down into left-hander, right-hander of 10 for the last time. Left-hander of 11. The clock has run out. And over the line, Bjorn Hagman scores his first victory this season. Flash of the lights and well-deserved. 33 seconds at the line. As we see Lars Hagman cruising home for a second place in his first race of this championship, joining in the fourth round. Coming through turn 10 and up to turn 11. To cross the line for second place. Well fought victory for Bjorn Hagman, but it was not to be for Lars. As the rest of the field comes through to complete their laps, I'll run through the rest of the positions. What a round at Laguna Seca. Full of action, full of, I wouldn't say controversy, but full of championship connotations. Let's just put it that way. Championship connotations. Right. So, So let's check the finishing positions of this race. So 4th round of the Porsche 935 USA Cup. It was Bjorn Hagman that takes the win from Lars Hagman in 2nd. Ed Jones finished a respectable 3rd place. Rob Milliken, who was in the running for a podium place, but unfortunately dropped a wheel on the grass, and that was all it took. Down to 4th he went. Thomas Johansson gets 5th. Barrett Eriksson in 6th. Philip Pitstop in 7th. And our DNFs are Nick Westy, early leader, in 8th. Nuno Rodriguez in 9th. And 10th will be Ken Jagger. So our 4th round is over and done with. We will be back here in 1 month's time for Road Atlanta. Again, a roller coaster ride, but in a completely different location. Slightly tighter than Laguna Seca, but still very up and down blind apexes. Very difficult to pass there. There is that big back straight. Could drafting opportunities come into it? I think passing is going to be very hard in sectors 1 and 2, but that back straight is going to be very interesting to see what drivers make of it. And then we got our final round on the 30th of March at Sebring International Raceway, and I'll be very interested to see how these cars react to the bumps. They do seem to oversteer quite a lot. Turbo coming into play, of course. Softer than some of the modern cars, but still the bumps seem to unsettle these cars quite a lot. Locked diff, providing a bit of a challenge for drivers. So in the end, 7 finishes out of 10. And championship connotations, if we look at the championship standings. So Nick Westy now leads the championship, even though he DNF'd from this race. He's still able to score enough points to now lead the championships with 122. Ed Jones now moves up to 2nd with 115. Barrett Eriksson now in 3rd with 114. Robin Taylor, championship leader at the start of this round, now on 106. 5th place, Bjorn Hagman with 103. Ken Jagger in 6th with 88. Rob Milliken in 7th with 82. Tony Talviti in 8th with 76. In 9th, it is Thomas Johansson with 56. And rounding out the top 10 in the championship will be Philip Pitstop with 44. So thanks for joining us this evening for this round of the Porsche 935 USA Cup. We'll be back in 1 month's time for Road Atlanta on the 16th of March. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you then.